Hey YouTubers, I'm going to do a ramble that somebody suggested I do. They also said I should just do like a podcast. So in a sense, this might be a cheap podcast. Hope you enjoy. It's long. All right, you can hear it running because I'm doing my monthlies. At least monthlies, you have to make sure everything works. If you hear that noise back there, that is the furnace running. So I'm doing my tests. And I had a friend recently say that I should do a little ramble about full-time versus part-time, because in the beginning that was my plan to full-time. So once I get this all done and warmed up out here a little bit, because it's about 12, 13 degrees, and I think I'm going to sit in here and do a ramble about said topic. I think I've talked about it in the past, but I'm going to do it possibly again and in one concise place as opposed to sometimes just mentioning things. So it's cold, but it's going to be warm in here in a little bit. Let's see what the temperature currently is. Inside my RV, it's currently about 24 degrees. All right, YouTubers, now I'm going to get to my ramble. I'm going to do my best to stay on topic because it's not always easy for me with a ramble. So I got some notes here that I'll try to refer to from time to time. I'll try to edit out all the ums and all that kind of stuff when I lose my train of thought, which will happen. I also want to start from the beginning that these are my ideas. These are thoughts for you to ponder. I don't think I know how you should live your life. I think a lot of times if you watch a lot of people on YouTube, they think their ideas fit everybody and you do it my way and everything's going to be perfect. Life isn't like that. So if you get to the end of this and it made you think a little bit, some ideas might be good, some ideas might be bad. Just take from it what you will. I'm an expert in nothing, but I have thoughts on many things. So we'll get started because a friend asked me to do this. And when I first bought this 99 Leisure Travel, it's about a 20-foot van, I thought I was going to live full-time in it. I wasn't at a point where I could jump right in to do it, and for me, I think that turned out to be a good thing because I love this thing. I love my travels, but I also learned it's not always perfect. Well, my suggestion would be take a couple 2-month trips, at least a month, maybe 2 months, living just in whatever RV you have. And that's the first and most important key is you have to find the RV that's going to work for you. Not everybody wants a Class B, and people like me don't want a 40-foot diesel pusher and have no use for that kind of thing whatsoever. Doesn't make them bad, doesn't make anybody that has them wrong. It's just all of us have to find what works for us. And if you make a mistake on that at the beginning, on which type of RV works best for you, I think anything that I'm going to say from here on out is irrelevant because the first and most important key is finding what's going to work for you. So I went out and did my first couple trips and loved it. That's why I'm still doing it, because I loved it. But then after a time, I realized that I also kind of liked coming back to my place. Now, I will say I couldn't jump into it because I had to try to get finances in order. And I will say I was very fortunate that after I got a divorce, I moved into a place that I rent from a friend of mine at an amazing price. And part of it was, okay, if I'm really careful with my money, I can make both of these things work. If I couldn't have, that obviously would have changed my decisions. And then once I realized how good a deal I was getting, and he's got a good tenant because he gets paid on time, I don't bother him with anything. Something breaks, I fix it. So it's a win-win for both of us. But if I was to leave this and then later decide, all right, now I want a sticks and bricks place to live, I don't know if I could find a deal this good. So for me, that had a lot to do with it. But the big part was when I'm at my place, I can get all antsy and ready to go on a trip. And when I'm on a trip, there can be times where I'm like, yeah, I'm ready not to be moving. So there are good and bads with everything. And as you get ready to jump into this stuff, I just think it makes sense to have a real set of ideas before you make that leap. I tend to think I'm not, well, no, I procrastinate a bit. And I can be spontaneous, but I also like to see the big picture. And for me, that's how it works. It works best for me. Okay, so like I said, there are some people you can watch on YouTube that have the best intentions in the world, but they only show you the good parts. They might show like, oh, I got messed with a cop, but most of all, they show you all the beautiful stuff. You know, you got Instagram girls that are on there running around in bikinis and getting people think that's what your life's going to be. That's, for some it might be. I haven't run into that as the standard. But, so you, like I said with my video at the beginning, you take what I say with a grain of salt and you take what other people say with a grain of salt. I do my best to try to keep it real, but if I have to be honest, I don't keep it totally real because most people don't want to see the totally real. I will sneak in videos every now and then of cleaning that I have to do, the small space that I have to deal with. I'm not always able to keep it really real. I'd say probably 90% of the time, the little things that go on that aren't just every amazing Instagram picture you've ever seen. The real of it. But again, nobody wants to see an hour of somebody cleaning an RV. You know, they don't. People like the highlights. But it's important to remember for every highlight, there's real life. And real life isn't always as exciting as you think. And the thing I learned is going into the RV isn't going to change who you are as a person. You're still going to have your same likes and dislikes. So you have to know that going in. You know, there's people out there saying, just go buy a minivan and you can live forever in your minivan. You only need 5 t-shirts and stuff like that. I'm not a minimalist. I think having a minivan is a great way to do it for a while, but I don't think I'd want to live in a minivan. Some people could do it. Not everybody could do it. When I talk about the RV, a lot of times I'll say, okay, go into your bathroom and live in your bathroom for a week. Now, while you're in there, hopefully you have a window. And while you're in there, you have to be really careful with how often you flush the toilet and how much water you use. That's going to give you kind of an idea of what it is like to live in an RV. Now, the people that are most successful live out of their RV. That's what I try to do. I think that's an important little safety tip. You know, you think, well, I got a bathroom, that's great. Well, no matter the best you do, you're still kind of driving a porta potty on wheels. So that's something you have to get used to. So I think there are a lot of people that can jump right into it and never look back. But not everybody can do that. So again, my idea is through my experience, I thought I was that person. I thought, okay, it's going to take me a few months to get my finances and get everything settled in. Then I'm going to jump in this and I'm gone. And I found out that I liked the best of both worlds. I liked having both things. And being careful, I was able to do that. I also know that not everybody can do that. So again, as in picking the right RV for you, you have to make the decisions that will fit your budget and your lifestyle. Very important. Okay, so when I started my experiment and still thinking I was going to do full-time, and again, I'm happy the way I am. If you're full-time and happy the way you are, awesome. If, you know, whatever way makes you happy is the best way. If it turns out to be tedious and not fun, then you're not doing it right for your life. So when I first started, I traveled the way I always had in the past. I had been one of those people that it was all about getting someplace as fast as I can, drive, get someplace and brag about how little time it took me to get there. Oh, I made that drive in 16 hours, you know. After a while of doing that, I realized I was missing so much that that's not the way that travel was fun for me. I wanted to start slowing it down. And I also found that after driving, say you drive all day, sleep somewhere, drive all day, after 2 or 3 days like that, I felt that I needed at least one full day in a place, you know, where I'm not unpacking and packing and getting ready to get back moving again. that I needed a little stop moving time. And that led to me enjoying more time and places to really explore. Because, I show a lot of videos of driving while I'm driving. Sometimes I talk to the camera. And because this GoPro does not have a lapel mic, not all the times it's the best audio. But that's a huge portion of what you're doing in an RV. For most people. Some people just go park it somewhere. But for most people, you do a lot of driving. I love to drive. One of the things I complain about, because again, I try to keep it mostly real, but I don't keep it totally real. The roads in this country are terrible, and they drive me insane. I do my best not to complain about that in all my videos, but that fact, because it's not an opinion, it's a fact that you're going to run on bad roads, that takes a lot of the fun and the glamour and the, this is the greatest life out of it. It is very frustrating at times. And it can drain you emotionally and physically sometimes. I don't know, emotionally. It just gets on your nerves, right? So be prepared for the reality of that, again, in my opinion. Okay, so back to the find what's best for you. When I first started looking, I thought, well, I'm going to live in it. I'm going to get a Class C or something a little bit bigger. And I realized for my budget and how I wanted to do stuff, that a van was better for me. And it still is. Now, if Tesla or Dodge or somebody came out with an electric van that would give me 300 miles on a charge, well, I might say goodbye to Eddie and build my own van out, because I think that would be pretty cool to be basically able to go from campground to campground and recharge your vehicle when you're there. But that's long in the future, and I don't know if it'll ever be for me. But the small van works for me. It works for a lot of people. You go to some YouTube channels, they will tell you it's going to work for everybody. Well, it's not going to work for everybody, because that's why there's so many different kinds of RVs to choose from, because we're not all the same. So if you're going to live full-time, it gets expensive. You have to pay for gas, and even though this does better than most and many on gas, it still drinks a lot of gas. So since it drinks a lot of gas, sometimes you have to make a decision. Do I want to pay for a campground, or do I want to sleep in a Walmart or whatever? Personally, I have found I do not like Walmarts. I know there are lots of people that do. I've done it a few times. And because I have pets, which I'm going to get into in a little bit, I found it very difficult for me. It just didn't work for me. I have stayed in some gas stations like Flying J's and Love's, and because I'm a van, I can be away from the semis, and that works a little bit better for me. But again, those are just side of the highway kind of rolling. I know there's a lot of people that will do rest stops, and rest stops can be awesome. The best advice to give you about rest stops is if you're closing on a big city, if you're getting close to a big city, don't choose that rest stop. Choose one that's kind of away on the highway and not much around it. You're going to have less lot lizards and less just concerns about outside forces messing with you and your RV. So that's a little tip. But if you like Walmarts, do your Walmarts. I've come to the point, because I used to do it more than I do it now. I've come to the point where I'm going to destinations along my trip to my final destination. So I like to be able to relax and not worry about where I'm going to park. There are a lot of people that do boondocking in towns. They'll pull into a city late at night and try to find a neighborhood and a quiet place to sleep for a night. This will upset some people, but I don't really do that. You'll see a lot of those people will get upset, like if somebody calls the cops. Well, if you've ever lived in a home or had a family, a lot of people don't get that you pull what somebody in a home would see as a sketchy van out in front of their house, or an RV park out in front of their house. That's gonna make some people nervous. And I don't know if I can truly blame people for that. If they decide, I got my family in here, I don't know what's going on out there, they shouldn't be there. So a lot of people will get upset if something like that happens. I think in life you have to see both sides. You know, almost everybody that's parking out there isn't going to bother anybody. They're not looking to bother anybody. But people in a house, they don't know that. So then I also went down, I did a long trip. I spent the whole winter down in Key West. But I was fortunate that I had a place where I was allowed to be. And when I was making videos from there, I kept getting question after question of people saying, can you boondock down there? The answer is no, not really. And then again, some people will get upset. Well, if you've ever been to Key West, it's a really small island. You can't park there during the day to start with. And I think some people need to realize is that community doesn't need 100,000 vans parking in there over the winter. It just can't support it. So that again will make some people mad, but I mean, you have to live in a little bit of reality sometimes. You can't have a small area descended upon by a bunch of people in vans or RVs. But if you do go down there, if at night you go up the keys a little bit, go a few keys up, there are places and there are options for you to do that. But if you're going to full-time and go to areas like that, you have to realize that you will see a lot of signs that say no overnight parking. It can make you mad, you can disagree with it, it can be whatever you think it should be, but that's the law, and that's what a community has decided their laws should be. So there is still a chance that one day I will become full-time. I would never rule that out. But I'm happy the way I'm doing it now, and I'm trying to offer advice or an opinion, because again, you got to do you, that it's not perfect, but it's pretty friggin' awesome. It is a great way to check things off your bucket list. If you like to travel, yay. If you're traveling with somebody else, hopefully you have the same kind of wants and needs and desires. A small Class B is fantastic, but I have pets. So because of that, when it's hot, I tend to do more campground stuff. And not everybody wants to shower in the middle of their kitchen in a van. I've done it. I've been on a trip where I showered every day for about a month in this RV. It's doable, but it's not fun. It's not fantastic. You have to worry about your water and all that kind of stuff. So you, again, have to know if that is how you want to live your life. Some people want to have minimalist and have like 5 t-shirts. I don't know about you, but I don't want to spend that much time with somebody that only has 5 t-shirts. I know for me, because I tend to do stuff while I'm RVing, there are many days where I have to change a shirt. You know, I wear 2 shirts in a day because, you know, it's hot and you're hiking or you're sweating and you're biking. So, yeah, I need to be clean. So, I don't really know how it happened to me. Well, I know how it happened to, but I never would have pictured it would have happened to me. But I travel with 2 cats. Again, never expected it. But I won't change it because, you know, I like my pets. But that has a lot to do. I think that has a big part to do with how I RV and with maybe whether or not I would full-time with animals. Because, you know, at the beginning, I got this small van and I'm like, okay, I get someplace, I'll drive around all over and you know, see stuff and go into restaurants, you know, when you could do that, and it'll be fantastic. I only need the 1 vehicle. Well, after traveling with pets, you realize that's not always that easy. I'm not fortunate enough to have one of the fancy things where you can run your air conditioner off your battery. It's just, you have to have quite a system. We'll get to that. But I found that didn't really work very well for me. It stressed the cats out, which made me feel guilty. You know, you come into your RV, it only takes a couple of times of coming in and realizing, you know, I had fans going, I had stuff going. This is very well insulated compared to many RVs, but it was still hot and they were uncomfortable. And I don't think they were ever in any true danger, but I changed how I traveled because of that. And I think if you're getting into it, that's one of the factors you have to keep in mind. I could tow a car with this, But now it's a 21-year-old RV, and I'm not gonna tow a car with it. I'm not gonna do that to it. You have to be prepared. This took me to a segue, which I didn't plan. You have to be prepared for things to break. I have been very, 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 very fortunate. The only major thing on the RV itself I've had is, I don't even like saying the word, the dreaded T word. Some of you automatically know what I'm talking about. Many different types of vehicles, Dodge, Chrysler, Ford, they all have their little Achilles heel. And with Dodge, it's quite known that they have the dreaded T word. I had to spend some money in getting that fixed, but again, knock on wood, it's been good since that. But you have to be prepared for that. Are you a kind of person that is able to crawl under your RV and fix something complicated in a Walmart parking lot? Do you have that skill set? If you do, come help me, because I don't. So I have to travel with a credit card and be able to be prepared for that stuff. So you don't have the costs of a home, but just like a home, you have upkeep and you have maintenance that goes into your home on wheels. So if you travel in something like this, or whatever you travel in, you realize it is a very small space. I can take 5 grown-up steps. And 90% of the time, that's great. Like I say, I tried to keep it real, but there are times where I don't totally lose my stuff, but I've gotten close a few times where I just have to get outside because, my bed touches 3 walls, so there's not a lot of space in here. I'm sitting at my most used area. This is just a little seat. I have this, and sometimes I eat in here. If there's a lot of bugs, I don't like to eat outside. I sometimes cook. I'm not going to move the camera because then it'll mess everything up. But I cook in a very small area. I have a propane gas stovetop with 2 burners. I almost never use that. The only time I use that is if I'm boondocking. Because I do a lot of campgrounds, I have electric skillet tops. I have an electric skillet. And I have cooktops, like induction cooktops, and also just a little electric one, because I figure I'm paying somebody to be here, so I will use their electricity. And when I can, I will take that cooktop outside. But it's great to have an cooktop, and I know there's lots of people that use them constantly. I use mine maybe once or twice a year. I don't use mine a lot. Propane's for this one, the way it's set up, the propane's a little difficult to get in there and get filled. And again, why use my propane when I can use the electricity I'm already paying for? And the same with showers and stuff like that. You have to find, to enjoy your either part-time like I do or full-time, you have to find the ways that work for you. All right, I just finally turned my furnace off. It's warm in here and it's nice. That brings me to power. There's 2 things when you're full-timing or part-timing or however you're RVing. There's the 2 things you worry about. There's power and water. I never, very rarely, travel with much water in my holding tanks. I fill up at a spot where I know I'm close to where I'll be in a situation where I need to use my own water. Why carry all that weight while you're driving? And I carry, usually, I have a 5-gallon water jug, and I'll carry other water jugs that I drink from. Again, this is 21 years old. I do all I can to keep my tanks clean, but I don't drink out of it. When it comes to power, I have a generator, which I think everybody should have a generator. I don't use mine a lot, but I use it enough that it is definitely worth having. Then people turn to solar. Everybody wants to get solar. And the point is, I think, before you throw a lot of money into solar, because if you're buying solar, you're throwing a lot of money into solar. It is very expensive. I have one AGM house battery, and if you want to get lithium, if you want to get fancy stuff to have a lot of power, that's going to cost you a lot of money. and you got, you know, the panels and all that good kind of stuff. You can get very expensive into solar, and I think before anybody puts that money into their RV life, whether it's full-time again or part-time, you have to have determined how you're gonna do the experience. You could end up putting solar in. See if the furnace went off. You could end up putting solar in, and it's the greatest investment in the history of ever for you. Or you could spend a lot of money putting in solar and realize, oh, I don't use this very much. So what I have is, I have one of those suitcase solar panel kind of things. It's got alligator clips, and I clip it right onto my house battery. I set it outside, and I can put it in the sun. The other thing, and to me that's important, because a lot of people, they want to line their roof with solar panels, which is fantastic. But then if you're staying in a place where you have the opportunity to choose sun or shade, if you're parking in the sun, then you're fighting everything your battery is doing for your inside living conditions, you know. So I personally, I like the solar panels. And when I did that time in Key West for so long, and a couple other places where I've used it, it has worked perfect for me. It has given me enough power to do the things I need to do, to run the fans I need to run. I ran the refrigerator off it for a little bit, but usually I use the propane. Mine has propane. But be careful with solar. Do your research, and not just on how much money you're going to spend on what you need the system to be capable of, knowing what you personally need from that solar. So if you need it, buy it, get everything you need, you'll be happy. If you don't need it, if you're spending the majority of your times in campgrounds or hooked up to power, I think that's an investment of your money that you can put to a greater use, personally. So for me, the suitcase one works fantastic. Right now we're going to move on to what's a big deal for full-timers and for some part-timers or most-timers. Some years I'm a part-timer and some years I'm a most-timer. Is that a lot of people go out to the desert in the winter, you know, out to the Southwest. And it goes back to that common idea and good practice of, you go north in the summer, south in the winter, so you have the best temperature, you know, the best living conditions. I've watched some videos of, you know, Quartzsite and Slab City, and I'm just going to talk for me, is I don't think that's for me. But my recommendation in that for the full-time thing is, you need to know if that's for you. I know some people that do it and tell me I'm wrong, that I would actually love it and it would be wonderful. And they're probably right, having not done it and just seen some videos that appear to be people just sitting around their RV for 3 months waiting for winter to be over. Just doesn't seem like that would work for me. You know, again, I need water. I need that stuff to be happy. And I also am not the type that wants to be stuck to my RV. You know, I've said before, because of traveling with the cats, my thing has become, I get to a place, I get them set up, hopefully I have power, I can turn the air conditioner off, and hopefully I make it back before it's dark, you know. If I had a dog, I would take a dog with me. That would probably be cool, but again, somehow I ended up with cats. But I know that even in the winter in the Southwest, usually it's not hot enough to bother any animals you might have. I think one day I would like to do it, but from what I've seen, I think I would go into it a little hesitant, you know. But I guess what I'm getting at is, that's my take on something that might be right and might be totally wrong. Might be right for you, might be wrong for you. Before you jump in, try to know what it's going to be like. But the best part, I think, if I did it the way I would enjoy it, is I'd go to different areas. Every 3 or 4 days I would move, because the one thing I found that made the full-time thing seem a little bit not my thing when I was doing it was, I'm great if I move. If I stay in an area 3-4 days, except the couple places that I really like that I spend extended time. But if I move every 3 or 4 days, being in this small RV van, if you want to call it that, doesn't bother me as much. But if I'm stuck somewhere for a long period of time in this tiny space, it seems to get on my nerves. So if I keep moving almost gradually, like, just like, okay, I've done 3-4 days, I've seen most of everything that's around me here, let me move someplace else and do 3-4 days and see what's around me. For me, I found that to be more fun. What that basically means is there's two kinds of winners in a full-timer's life. You have the winner that takes you to the desert that is mostly free, and you have the winner that takes you to Florida or, the Gulf Coast, Texas, that is mostly paying to camp somewhere. And when you pay to camp pretty much anywhere in Florida, it's really expensive, and not everybody can do it. So I totally get the free aspect of the desert. And I would just say, if you're getting ready to do full timing, don't write off going to the desert. Go out there, give it a shot, find the places that may or may not work for you. You might want to be around people, you may not want to be around people. You might want a little bit of both, but the most beautiful part of this whole thing is you have these in your pocket. You got a room with a view, and whenever you're tired of the view for whatever reason, turn the key and you get a new view. So that is the ultimate beauty of full timing. Well, YouTubers, I have come to the end of this hopefully pointful ramble and not pointless ramble. I think if you listen through all of this, basically what I said is what I will give people my opinion on pretty much any topic. You got to find what works for you. I think there are a lot of people that can go full time and never look back and have a great time. And there are other people that it's just not for. I haven't decided for me yet. And I'm good with that. I'm really content. Like I said I think I said at the beginning, I've been talking a lot. When I'm out there, I'm in it. I'm ready to go. And then after a while, I'm like, it'd be nice to get back to the house. It'd be nice to be able to stretch my arms out and not hit anything, It'd be nice to be able to take more than 5 steps inside and not going around a litter box or a cat in those 5 steps. But as soon as I get back, it's not long before I'm ready to go out again. But whatever you feel you need to be tethered to be good, that's fine for you. Don't listen to people like me. Don't listen to the other people that say, throw everything in the garbage and go live in your van, like your minivan. I don't know. It might work for you. It might not. So that's my synopsis of the whole thing. RVing is fantastic, whether you do it 1 weekend a month, whether you do it half the year, or whether you live in yours all the time. Get yourself information. Information is power, to find out what's going to work best for you. And I think full timing is something that, like I said, is very possible in my future, but I'm happy now. And I think most people can make it work. When I drive around my neighborhood, I'm gone much of the time, but there are 3 or 4 RVs that are parked in people's driveways in my neighborhood alone, and I don't think I've ever seen move. So if you're going to make the investment in this, and if it's either going to become a hobby or a lifestyle, go into it knowing what you're going into. Because to me, there's nothing more sad than driving by driveway art. And that's what I don't know if I made up the phrase probably, but you see a lot of beautiful RVs sitting in people's driveways. Mine's sitting in it right now because I don't feel like winter camping and I'm trying to get some stuff all together, but I'm ready for a big trip I have in mind for this spring, summer, maybe into fall. So I should have a big trip coming up that may also help me decide further where I want to be. If I want to keep this place in Ohio, which, I know there's a lot of people that love Ohio. I stay here because the rent's cheap. But, okay, so now I'm rambling just to ramble. I think I've gotten to the end. Hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully this gave you some things to think about for your life. And as always, I should send like a 10-pound bag of salt to everybody. because there's lots of grains of salt to take anything I say with. But again, hope it was helpful, and I hope you have a great and wonderful day. I know this went on already for far too long, but if I've missed anything, you have any comments, put them down below. Might be able to help other people out. One thing I will say is there's a thing called burnout that full-timers get, and it's an actual thing, so keep that in mind. And plus, already there are far too many RVers out there, so don't do it. Stay home. Stay out of our way. Have a great and wonderful day.